This morning I got up at 6 a.m., had my kitten with me, keeping me company, taking notes. I was taking notes, not the kitten. I think that's pretty clear. We watched the Rolex Austrian Grand Prix. And, it was a wild race. I don't think that, way more stuff happened than I expected, and I think that's not normal. I think there was 9 do-not finishes. A lot of stuff went on. And I got to say, this was my first time truly sitting down to watch a live Formula One race. I'm new to the sport. I love the sport. I think I know a lot about it. Not a lot, but about the history and what's gone on the last couple of years. I've done a lot of research trying to figure out, hey, what were the storylines last year or 2 years ago, and how has it gone on? But to be honest, this was my first time sitting down and getting up at 6 in the morning here in America to watch a race, and oh my gosh, it was so much fun. So many things happened. Now, I want to start by talking about the guys who retired early. The one that was the worst for me, at least from a fan perspective. Maybe not a fan perspective, but from my perspective, watching Max Verstappen go out early in the race because of a problem with this power unit wasn't fun. It really sucked to watch. I thought maybe he had the best chance to challenge Mercedes, and when he didn't, I went, man, I don't know. I was just very disappointed. Now, here are the other 8 drivers that retired early. Again, this is not something normal. I know I'm new to the sport, but I can tell you, I don't expect every race to be this crazy and chaotic and wild. But we got a treat of a race yesterday, or I guess this morning now. I'm saying it's confusing because it's midnight for me. So it just became tomorrow, even though I watched the race when I woke up this morning. Very weird and confusing. Daniel Ricciardo's Renault overheated. Lance Stroll had a power issue. Both Haas drivers had brake failure, Kevin Magnussen and Romain Grosjean. George Russell's Williams had a fuel pressure problem. Kimi Räikkönen's wheel, I don't know if you're watching this, Kimi Räikkönen's wheel just fell off. I went, oh, crap. And apparently it happened in pit lane. It got cross-threaded. And so Alfa Romeo actually got fined 5,000 euros for the incident in pit lane. Daniel Kvyat, it's KVY. Now, in America, I've never come across the sequence of letters KVY before in my life. I'm going to pronounce it Kvyat. I think that's how it's said. He had suspension failure. And then the other Red Bull, Alex Albon, had a power unit problem as well. Now, Red Bull Racing had a frustrating day overall, kind of a frustrating race. They had 2 do-not finishes DNFs. And what's sad is both racers were in a podium place and then lost it because of the problems they were having. And it just was like, man, I felt bad for Red Bull. I think if I had to pick I don't have a favorite racing team. I love all the storylines. I think it's fun. I root for pretty much everybody. There's not anybody I hate really in the sport right now. If I had to pick a favorite team, I like Red Bull just because I think a lot of people are going, man, they're the best chance it seems like to beat Mercedes, and it'd be cool to see the underdog win. And so I was disappointed with how they did today. Now, Lewis Hamilton just had a bad weekend overall. He had a problem in qualifying where he got a 3-place grid penalty for ignoring yellow flags during qualifying. And I'll be honest, it seemed like some trickery by Red Bull where they protested right before the race with a video. They waited until the final moments to catch Mercedes off guard. It cost Lewis Hamilton. He got moved back from his starting point, went from 2nd to 5th. And then during the race, so that penalty in qualifying. Then during the race, Lewis Hamilton got another penalty. And it pushed him from a podium place 2nd to 4th. Now, this was something I believe that Lewis Hamilton deserved. Alex Albon made a move to overtake Lewis Hamilton, and Alex was ahead going around a corner. Hamilton understeered right into him. And I felt so bad for Alex Albon. And it was Hamilton's fault very clearly, and I would be furious if I was Alex. He was. You could hear him on the radio saying, man, this guy's such a sore loser. And we got to dive into what happened between Lewis Hamilton and Alex Albon because this is the second time this has happened to Alex from Lewis Hamilton. And Alex Albon's not wrong when he says, man, this guy cannot take losing it. He's a sore loser. Now, Hamilton got karma a little bit where he got moved out of a podium place. But for Alex Albon, there's no justice because, yeah, it might be good to see the guy that screwed you over and ended your day, basically, get, moved out of a podium place. But what did Alex get? Alex didn't really get anything. And I want to ask people, what are you supposed to do? Are you just not supposed to pass Lewis Hamilton? Is that how things are going to work now? Don't pass me or I'm going to spin you out. I'll understeer right into you and knock you out of the race. And I know Alex Albon had a power unit failure. That's what at the end technically got him out. But he went from like competing to get into second place to way at the back of the grid. He's like, yeah, now, I mean, there's a reason. I think there's a lot of factors that went into him retiring early. Like, hey, we're out of the race. We might as well DNF, whatever. And so it was just infuriating to watch. I felt so bad for Alex. Now, I do want to say, I would be furious if I was Alex. I've said that many times, but I do believe Alex should have been more patient. I don't know if it was actually 20 seconds after a restart, but it felt like 20 seconds after restart where, there was no patience from Alex. He immediately after the restart happened, after yellow flags, tried to make a move and pass Lewis Hamilton. And I thought he should have waited for a better opportunity. Now, maybe that's not how racing works. Maybe you got to take what you get. I don't know. But I also believe maybe Alex didn't want to get slowed up. He didn't want to get slowed down battling for second place with Lewis. Well, Valtteri Bottas just gets away and pulls away in first place. Alex wanted to get into second place and then challenge Bottas. So I get it. But I just felt bad. Alex had his day kind of ruined because of a move that Lewis Hamilton didn't give him space to get around the corner. And I'm glad he got penalized. It felt very well deserved. Now, as a result of the penalty, maybe the coolest story of the day was that Lando Norris from McLaren got his very first F1 podium, got third place. And I was so happy for Lando. I think everybody was. Was anybody watching going, this darn kid, I hate him? I don't think anybody was. I think a lot of people watched Lando Norris celebrate. There was that moment where he jumps up on the McLaren CEO, Zach Brown. There literally just jumps on him and hugs him. And I like Lando Norris. It's hard to hate him. And I think everybody watched that and went, oh, that's cool. No matter who you are, no matter what your favorite team is, everyone kind of went, you know what? That's a cool moment. And I like McLaren all around. Lando Norris is 20 years old. They're getting Daniel Ricciardo next year. Plus the budget cap could really help them compete with bigger teams like Ferrari and Mercedes. They're building something at McLaren. I really believe they're headed in the right direction. I can't remember what NFL team I compared them to the other day, but I think that might have been wrong because they're truly building something. Got a young core there. I love the people running McLaren, and they're doing some stuff right. They're building a good team over at McLaren. Now, Racing Point did not impress me. So many people keep saying to me that I need to pay attention to Racing Point. They're like, Racing Point is driving a Mercedes car. They legally copied Mercedes. They're so great. They're going to be in the race for best of the rest. And I just want to say having a good car isn't good enough. They had a power unit failure with Lance Stroll. And then number 2, they didn't pit Sergio Perez, Checo Perez? I don't know. I don't know the lingo well enough. I'm too new to Formula One. Please don't hold it against me. I think it's Checo Perez, they call him. The point is, they didn't pit him during a safety car at the end of the race, and Sergio Perez didn't get new tires. And as a result, he got passed by Carlos Sainz right at the end. And a good car. Okay, great. They're driving a Mercedes. What are you going to do with it? I mean, do you have the right people that can take advantage of having that? I don't know that Racing Point does. Because a good car is not enough. You need a talented driver. You need good management. You need good decision-making and good engineering. There's a lot of factors that go into winning in Formula One. And the engine, the car itself isn't enough. And so, I mean, you can even have the parts now, the wrong engineering, not doing the right stuff with the car. So I don't know. I'm waiting for Racing Point to grab my attention, but they have to earn it. I have nothing against them. Lance Stroll, I think, is interesting. I think he's more talented. He's not just a gentleman driver. He didn't just buy in. He did buy into Formula One, but I think he has some talent a little bit to go along with it. So I don't have anything against them, but I'm just not going to buy in until they earn it, until they prove that they deserve a little bit more respect in the grid of Formula One. Now, the biggest takeaway for me today is Mercedes dominance. And technically, they got first and fourth. Like, if you look at the standings today, they'll say, hey, Valtteri Bottas got 1, Lewis Hamilton got 4th. But if Lewis Hamilton wasn't given a penalty, then they both would have got 1 and 2. And the only reason people even had a chance for Lewis to get a penalty was because George Russell retired. A safety car had to be brought out, and it brought the grid together. So you got to look back and have some context here. At the end of the race, Mercedes was ahead by literally both cars were up 10 seconds ahead of the rest of the grid. I mean, they were so far ahead. And everybody else got kind of lucky. I mean, you could see teams celebrating when the yellow flag got waved and the safety car had to come out. People were celebrating, yes, the grid's coming back together. Mercedes can't just get away easily off this. And so I think context has to be applied a little bit where Mercedes dominated, but they had some bad luck and still won anyway. You got to realize, they were unbelievable. Bad luck. Some things went wrong. Lewis Hamilton got a penalty, but if Lewis Hamilton doesn't get a penalty, if he doesn't get a penalty in qualifying or in the race, or if there's not a yellow car, a lot of things had to go right for Mercedes to not basically sweep the grid today. And so I think that has to be really taken with context. Mercedes looks like they're going to dominate. They were 10 seconds ahead and pulling away from the rest of the crowd. Now, we were robbed of one piece of drama that I think it was better. The way it played out was better than this potential storyline I'm going to lay out. But what I wanted to see, the storyline I wrote down, I can't wait to see this happen. Let's imagine that there's no safety car that gets called, and you have both Mercedes 10 seconds ahead of everybody else. Valtteri Bottas 1, Lewis Hamilton number 2. You and I both know that at some point, Lewis Hamilton would have tried to pass Valtteri Bottas. You know it. I can hear Ayrton Senna in my head saying, if you don't go for a gap, you're no longer a race car driver. I wish we'd seen that. I wanted to watch a true race between Bottas and Lewis Hamilton. I'm sad we didn't get that. Even if Mercedes is saying, no, hold off, Constructors' Cup, we got to get all the points from 1 and 2. I can see Lewis Hamilton going, I don't care. I got to go for it. I really think that's interesting to me. I'm sad we didn't get that. And I wonder if at some point later this year, we might get that exact same scenario and get a true race between Bottas and Lewis Hamilton. Now, Ferrari struggled early. They ended up in P2 with Charles Leclerc. But I got to say, if 9 cars don't retire, I don't think Ferrari would have gotten to the podium today. I think that early on in the race, before everyone else was gone from the grid. Now, hey, credit to Ferrari. Attrition matters. They had no DNFs. They held their own pretty good. But I'm not confident that Ferrari would have been on the podium again if 9 guys didn't go out of the race early. I think something's up with their car. Something didn't feel right with Ferrari today where they kind of snuck in there at the end. But I don't feel great about Ferrari. I wish I had more to say about that other than I just have a feeling in my gut that's like this feels off a little bit from Ferrari this season. Now, as I expected, Sebastian Vettel drama did ensue. And, Vettel's being replaced at Ferrari next year by Carlos Sainz. Carlos Sainz is coming in, taking Sebastian Vettel's place. And during the race, what had happened to Sebastian Vettel ran into Carlos Sainz, spun him out trying to pass him. Now, let me be clear. Sebastian Vettel spun out. Sebastian Vettel took a risk trying to show up the guy taking his place and spun out. And I'm curious how much more of that kind of stuff is going to happen this year. I like Sebastian Vettel. I'm a fan of him. But I think anytime you're being replaced and your ego, I think, is bruised a little bit and you don't care what your team thinks anymore, I think we could see Sebastian Vettel go a little bit rogue this year. And I think we're going to see a little bit more reckless stuff happen where I just go, man, I don't know. Keep your eye on Sebastian Vettel. There's some drama there. And a lot of stuff's going to happen as a result of him getting replaced at Ferrari. Now, he did push back, up the grid, made it back into 10th place, got some points. No, is it 1 point? Not much. And he only beat a Williams. That's pretty sad. I can see the memes. There are so many memes from this race that are going to come. One of them has got to be that With 9 DNFs, Williams still didn't get a point. Are you kidding me? Now, after retiring today, I'm so glad to see Daniel Ricciardo leaving Renault. It feels like he's had nothing but car trouble since getting there. I feel so bad for him. Now, he chose to be there. I think he made a mistake going there in the first place. But I'm happy to hear that Daniel Ricciardo's leaving Renault and going to McLaren. I'm also happy for Valtteri Bottas. He went through a divorce last year. I actually follow him on Instagram. I follow him and his new partner. And he looks so happy. It was a cool... I know a lot of people hate on Mercedes. I think their black cars are really cool. And I felt happy for Bottas. I just that's a good story. I like him. Mercedes is like the most likable. They're kind of the villain in Formula One because they win so much. But there are some teams in sports and a lot of things in sports where somebody's a villain. And I get why you hate them. Mercedes is hard for me to hate. I think they have likable people there. I think they dominate, which is kind of frustrating. I get that. And if you're a fan of like Ferrari or Red Bull or literally any other team, you go, I hate that Mercedes wins every single race. But I do think that they could be way worse. I mean, they could be. I don't hate them as much as everyone else does. I think that they're classy. I like their style, and I like Valtteri Bottas. I think he's a class act, and I was happy for him winning today. Now, I did figure out how to say AlphaTauri. Tauri. I can't say it properly yet. Now, I heard the announcer say it. I wonder if that kind of makes sense. If you go on YouTube and you try to figure out how to say AlphaTauri, everyone says Alpha to blah, 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 and they kind of mumble off the end. They go Alpha to blah, 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 blah. And you're like, what do you mean Alpha to blah, 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 blah? That's not a word. I'm going to say AlphaTauri. Tau, T-A-U, Tauri. Makes sense to me. I hope I'm right. Shot in the dark. We'll find out. I'm certain people will send me messages saying you're right, you're wrong, whatever. I'm going to say AlphaTauri. Hey, if you hate it, comment on YouTube or whatever. Tell me I'm super wrong and you hate me and that you want me to say it properly. Now, I will say that not having fans in the stands had no impact on my experience at all. It might have felt weird for the racers, but this is not the NBA or soccer or basketball. Fans don't really have a gigantic impact on a Formula One race. And so watching on TV, there was no impact. It felt exactly the same to me. Totally normal. And I think another thing that's a bit overlooked in the sport of Formula One, a bit underappreciated. The broadcasters are awesome. Again, this was my first time watching a live race where I'm watching it the minute it's happening on TV. But I've watched a lot of Formula One races. I'm a nerd. We've been stuck inside because of coronavirus. I have gone back and watched way too many race replays. And I think the broadcasters are great. I mean, I don't know who I even heard. I think it was David Croft. I know for sure that Martin Brundle was there. But I was listening to the intro. I believe it was David Croft doing the intro saying, we are here in glorious Austria. And they're showing the beautiful shot of the mountains and it's super green everywhere. And he's going on this like long rant by himself. And I go, man, this dude is killing it. I just was so impressed. As a guy who talks for a living into a microphone for a lot of time in a row, I was just really impressed. And I thought it was great. Again, I want to go back to this. There's a meme I have on my phone where, a lot of memes I think came from this race, but one of them about Williams really stuck out to me. I want to read it to you guys. It says, F1 God to Nicholas, and I'll put it on screen on YouTube. F1 God to Nicholas. I've got good and bad news for you. Nicholas says, okay, well, give me the good one first. F1 God. You're going to finish P11 in your debut race. Nicholas, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Wait, what's the bad news? F1 God. You're going to be last anyway. I just go back to, I cannot believe, let this sink in. There were 9 retirements in the race today, and Williams still did not get a single point. It's like, oh my God, it's tragic. It's sad. Again, there are going to be so many good memes from this race. So many good storylines took place and went on, and I can't wait to watch people make fun of Lewis Hamilton for, you try to pass me? You shall not pass. I think that meme's got to be made. Making fun of Lord of the Rings, that'd be hilarious. Did I just make a meme? Question mark? I don't know. I haven't been on Reddit today. I'm sure someone already did that. And I go back to Williams. It's kind of funny. It's kind of sad. But that's all I have on the race today. It was phenomenal. I loved it. I hope you enjoyed watching it. And I don't believe every race is going to be that exciting and interesting. But man, this one was great.